deal with such a man free. Welcome to the land of many faces. Not one, not two, but 6 different races. You know when the sun kisses your skin, you're in the right place. G-U-I-A-N-A. Oh, that's my beautiful country. G-U-I-A-N-A. One people, one nation, one destiny. Don't stop for a minute. Come, let me take a walk. We'll the ticket. You'll see our landmarks and our monuments. They're so unique. The hybrid structure, the lighthouse, the tallest wooden structure, the cathedral, 176th Street monuments, and the beautiful city hall. You know with the wind in your hair, you're in the right place. G-U-I-A-N-A. Oh, that's my beautiful country. G-U-I-A-N-A. One people, one nation, one destiny. Look down from your window, no big city lights, just greenery. You don't know what you come for. Listen up, my dear, we're such a man free. Welcome to the land of many faces. Not one, not two, but 6 different races. You know when the sun kisses your skin, you're in the right place. G-U-I-A-N-A.
I have 2 press releases to read, and I think Joretta will have one. And let me proceed to read the 2 that I have. AFC's press release and developments concerning probe into allegations concerning Vice President by Vice News. The AFC notes a perverse barefacedness about Jagdeo's support for a probe. What else could he say? This is the presumptuous and cavalier answer he, like everyone who is caught red-handed, would respond with. But it is the manner with which he shrugs it off. It does not bear down profoundly on him that wrong was done, even if only by having the people at his home. He deems it just fine. An ethical public figure will have offered some modicum of apology to the Guyanese people. But AFC notes his arrogance and aura of invincibility. As presently advised, the AFC will not be comfortable with a probe that is conducted by the police, knowing how they performed in the recent Quindon Bacchus matter, and for a number of other reasons. So too, even one which comprises of local commissioners. The AFC remember the one in which the Phantom Squad and certain ministers and public officials were being inquired into in an early 2000 PPP administration, where the final report was characterized thus by myself then: the shame is greater than the exoneration. The AFC believes that since the World Bank has an investigative arm and the World Bank has serious people who know how to investigate corruption, and that unit of the bank knows what to recommend to be done, President Irfan Ali should call on the World Bank to probe this matter. It will save the country monies too for a costly commission of inquiry and a certainly questioned report, which will be found unacceptable by half the population if it is done by local commissioners. If the president does not want the World Bank to investigate, then the alternative route the AFC will want is an international, reputable set of commissioners. On the question whether VC Jagdeo remains in office while the probe is being conducted, the AFC says absolutely not. What is good for the goose must be good for the gander. If it was any other person who were to be probed like this, that person would have had to be interdicted from office. He or she had to move out from that office or position. It is also politically the correct thing to do, or the ethical thing to do. Whether it be by the World Bank or an internationally flavored commission of inquiry, a comprehensive set of recommendations which will address systemic corruption in Guyana is what the AFC will look for. Also, recommendations which will mark red lines not to be crossed by politicians, or if crossed, must mean criminality. Conduct, as was here practiced by VC Jagdeo, if practiced by a judge, would have meant dismissal and a jail term for that judge. Just think of it. What he, Jagdeo, would have said about that judge. So a probe ought to spell out for us how the affairs of the nation must be carried out by politicians so that the pall which has fallen over public integrity must not be continued. The probe should also tell us the damaging effects and corrosive impact which occur when implicit blessing is given to such political practices, and the need for a more robust public outrage whenever these practices occur. On the question of President Ali going only after investors who utilize middlemen, the AFC sees this as avoidance and evasion of the main issue. This is but a strategy only to perpetuate corruption in high places. It is hard to chase or convict bad guys when you are babysitting the boss. Why go after the small fry like investors or middlemen when the entire corrupt scheme could be disfigured and discontinued by displacing the boss? In a triangular affair as this, the better policy is to criminalize the practices of that unwholesome politics of the boss, who makes friends with the Sues of the world and then give them access to meet them at his home. And then he tells them, I will look after the government side, Sue will look after the agreement side. The AFC urges the president to go after the shark, not the small fry. The other one is a press release on sugar. And it is far shorter, so just bear with me. The AFC repeats and maintains that the continuing false explanations and narrative being given by the CEO of Gaisuco are ill-advised and is a road to nowhere. The evidence is clear that the perennial shortage of labor will persist in this sector, that the new CEO of Gaisuco and his arrogant attitude towards experienced managers and rank-and-file cane cutters will decidedly demoralize staff and employees, and that the world market prices will continue to be half of what Gaisuco's production costs are. All the propaganda spouted by the CEO and the government will remain hollow and will not move the industry forward. Sugar has been dying since Guyana lost the preferential prices on the European market by the WTO ruling that those preferential prices violated open market competition rules. Guyana has been operating at a loss since then. Our cost of production is and will double the price we will sell for. This again is not prudence. Moreover, our workforce is not trained beyond substantially a cutlass and punt trajectory, so it is a lost cause. This will result in an intergenerational transmission of poverty in these communities, which the PPP plays on. This is bad for economic growth, as girls are groomed to become housewives to support boys who will enter the cane field. there is no opportunity for economic innovation through exposure to education or technical advances. The AFC maintains that the right sizing done under our coalition government was the correct approach for the long-term growth and development of the country. Thank you very much.
Judith is not available at this time, so we're going to open up for any questions from members of the media, and we want to thank those folks who are joining us a tad bit late. You just joined the Alliance for Change press conference. Thanks for joining us. Go right ahead. Any questions? We can use the raise hand feature, or you can use the microphone as well. I see the hand of Adam Harris.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Chief, you were talking about the Jagdeo Sue affair, and you're saying that there should be an international investigation. Do you really believe that President Ali would seek to investigate anything pertaining to Mr. Jagdeo?
Even if he does not want to, Adam, we have an obligation, the press, or at least the free press, not the servile press, the free press and the politicians like myself will have to press on the issue. And we have to internationalize it too. And so even if he does not want to, having said that he's going to accept a police probe, we have to state what we are stating here, Adam. And hopefully there will be a probe of some character.
The follow-up then is, I like the correlation you made between Vice President Jagdeo and the judge. If a judge had done the same thing in his house, they would have been called for his sacking.
Sacking, jailing too.
All right. But one argument is traditionally, government functionaries, government officials have been known to conduct business in their own homes. How accurate is that statement?
Well, you know, that is very inaccurate, and especially when it is not that public official that deals with investment. We created, as I have said, a $500 million institution called Go Invest, headed by Peter Ramsarup, a very close friend of the president. Which institution is to ensure that investors go there and will meet with Mr. Peter Ramsarup, and I think a former general secretary of the AFC, that is the vice to Peter Ramsarup, who will then deal with the matter. And so I am absolutely, scared literally of this kind of development where you set up an institution and then the investors and the middlemen who had quite a lot to say about who will get the monies and all kind of thing. They being diverted into the home of a vice president rather than Go Invest. So it is not true. And I remember it being clearly a practice that you deal with issues at your ministry, especially if it comes under your ministry. And if it is an investment thing, it goes to the statutory body and the Ministry of Finance.
One last quick question. Sue has been in Guyana, they say, for years. During the tenure of the coalition, did Sue apply, or did anyone apply for the right to conduct business in Guyana? And did you have any dealing with Sue about any business matter at all? Or did Go Invest or anybody, to your knowledge?
Well, it is quite a lot of people that came to my ministry, Adam, and I know of lots of people coming there in relation to our ministerial matters, and some of them in relation to my AFC matters, but I can't recall a Sue Giron, the same Sue here. I cannot recall him ever coming there. but I have dealt with quite a lot of Chinese. The Chinese embassy officials came, and a number of them on matters relating to my security issues. Some of them came also for naturalization and immigration, and I had to send them to Mr. Winston Felix.
Thanks, Adam Harris. We welcome any other questions from any other of the media houses represented today.
Davina, I see.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you. This is Davina from Kaichor News. I have a quick question to you, Mr. Ramjitan. Mr. Norton, on Tuesday during the during the opposition leaders' press conference, said that the agreement between the two parties will end until 2025, which means that you will be binded until that time. So can you please clarify, given that your party has said that it will be leaving at year end, when that agreement ends?
Well, quite frankly, the agreement has 3 to 5 years tenureship and or period for the partnership. And we went to our national conference, like the PPP Congress or the PNC Congress, for a decision on the issue. And we opted for the decision for the 3-year termination.
Okay, and will this have any sort of issues or any consequences on your parliamentary presence and so on? Because we have heard, well, at least one person has said that, you know, the matter might end up going to court and so on, given that you have that present agreement. So can you
I do not see anything that will affect our parliamentary relationship in opposition. And I am unafraid of the so-called Chatterati talking about consequences and so on our 9 parliamentarians. I don't feel that that will happen at all. As I have indicated, that even though the termination will come at the end of the year, as our conference has now decided, we will still have working relationship with the APNU.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And while we were at it, you were at one time responsible for Home Affairs. This last so-called police promotion, there seems to be a cloud over it. First of all, to your knowledge, did the Police Service Commission make these most recent promotions, sir? And if not, can any other organization make police promotions?
Well, you know, Adam, the question about when Paul Slow had recommended his commission, that is, which was a valid commission up to that point, although it had straddled the PPP's term, Paul Slow's commission was the valid commission to recommend promotions. And the PPP didn't like that. I think they suspended that. Then they got their own commission, and their commission has now proceeded to validate certain promotions from that second commission. Look, the matter is in court, and I think there are very, very sensitive issues of law to be dealt with here. But I would want those policemen, knowing how happy they are when they are promoted, they get some more monies in times of high crisis like this. And I would hope that this thing is resolved as quickly as possible in accordance with the law, as our High Court, and probably the Court of Appeal can resolve.
Thanks, Kamraj.
Rather suspect it might go right up to the CCJ.
Thanks, Kamraj. I see the hand of Davina from Kaichor News. Davina, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just have a quick follow-up for Mr. Ramjitan. Sir, is your party prepared to give up its parliamentary seats if it reaches to that stage, just to part ways with the PNC?
No, we're not going to give up our seats. Those seats were earned. And the APNU people will know that too. So why should we want to give up our parliamentary seat when being in opposition now, that is a good platform to carry out opposition works against the government, to scrutinize them and to ensure that they abide by the rule of law. No, we are not going to give up our parliamentary seats.
Okay.
And I do not think that the leader of the list, Mr. David Granger, is going to ever do that.
I want to go back to the earlier question I asked. Sir, according to the law, and you as a lawyer would know, is the police service duly constituted, bearing in mind that there is no public service commission, and the chairman of the Public Service Commission is supposed to be a member of the Police Service Commission?
You know, I like the arguments of Mr. Roysdale Ford. A couple of days ago, I did ask him to explain the arguments and all of that. And I feel that they're cogent and compelling in view of the fact that although the commission might be co-rate without the Public Service Commission chairperson, that which he is saying, you know, so I am somewhat ambivalent in the issue. I am a lawyer, yes, but I certainly will have to put some more time into dealing with it. But right now, I would go along with Mr. Roysdale Ford, now that he has explained the arguments and quoted a couple of cases to me on the issue.
Kemraj,
What is his, sorry.
Go ahead, Adam.
What is his argument? Is the Police Service Commission duly constituted, minus the Public Service Commission chairman?
Well, that is what he's saying. Minus the Public Service Commission chairman, it is not properly constituted. And that is why this second set of promotions, I think they're arguing, is invalid.
Kemraj, I have a question here from Ivor Wharton, journalist Ivor Wharton. She wants you to comment on the statement released by the CEO of Gaisuco, Sesnarayan Singh, today on the shortage of sugar, one, of it being smuggled, and two, on there not being packaged flour.
Well, as I said in the press release, these ongoing matters in which he's trying to give explanations are ill-advised. I mean, but now to say that he, under his stewardship, there is some people smuggling sugar out of the country, it just goes to show his stewardship of Gaisuco. I mean, knowing the fella, I don't want to say the background, he was at the flour mill. And I know for a fact that the president, that same Barra Jagdeo, start calling him a false name. Y'all know the false name. It's on the flour bags of Guyana. So it is very worrying when he now comes out with explanations and then also criticizes ordinary cane cutters from IFLOT who did not turn up to work after they fixed up some gearbox. And then the nasty things that he had there to say when apparently he started explaining how Ramjatan and Moses Nagamutu are what you call Nimakaram, and that how we are ungrateful to the PPP, and that they, because they got a raise the other day, that they must be grateful to the PPP. And the gratefulness has to do with how Ramjatan was educated by the PPP. But I want to make it quite clear. I never go to Moscow. I never go to all of them other places like Prague, where people like Clement Rohi went for the World Marxist Review and so on. My parents looked me after at high school at J.C. Chandy Singh, then at law faculty in Barbados, Cave Hill, then at law school, and all were done in the year 1984 when I started working at the DPP's chambers. In 1992, Ashton Chase, senior counsel and president of the then bar, said that they got scholarships for young, bright lawyers to go on a British Council scholarship to University of London. And then I went there and I completed that program in July 1992, then came back to campaign for the PPP. So the PPP didn't educate me. I mean, if it is anything, as I have said in another program, it tried to miseducate me with its communism and Marxism-Leninism, something which I duly at a PPP Congress at Port Moran then put a proposal to delete from the party's constitution. Up to now, they have not deleted it. The PPP remains constitutionally a Marxist-Leninist communist party. And of course, I was wiped off the PPP's political landscape by an expulsion order from the boss man called Jagdeo. So and you see, they have absolutely no qualms, that like the CEO telling sugar workers, you see how Ramjatan been get educated and he an ungrateful fella? And that is what the PPP is good at. They are masters of the art of propaganda. And the poor cane cutters and young fellas and so on, they're gonna know where Ramjatan come from. And so that is how they do this nasty things. And then they indoctrinate and brainwash those supporters.
Divina, Kaieteur News.
Thank you. This past week, Mr. Jagdeo said that government will be going out back to tender soon for another booth arrangement for Amila. Mr. Ramjatan, can you give your party's position on Jagdeo's determination on this project and on the booth arrangement?
Well, we are objecting to a booth arrangement. The person who is going to best answer that is our person, David Patterson. And on the next Friday's press conference, he's going to do an exclusive on that with our management committee member, Vince Adams, who will be there next Friday. But he wants to get something done. That is why this fella is so urgent with this booth arrangement. And there might be more than the mortar in the pestle in concerning booth arrangements with Chinese, especially in the context of what Vice News brought out. And so he should come off the scene. The president should tell him, please, it is about time, like you had done unto Janet Jagan, I will now do unto you. Please step aside. You are becoming a liability. But of course, he would feel, you know, that he's an asset or that he will get assets in that kind of arrangement.
So, sir, are you saying that you or your party would prefer an EPC contract for Amila, or are you saying that you're completely against this project?
I am saying quite a number of things here. That Jagdeo shouldn't be there dealing with, even if it was the best of methods. Jagdeo being the personnel dealing with it, it makes it tarnished and questionable. That is number one, I'm saying. Number two, the expert on this will be our David Patterson, who will deal with the question next time around. But my objection to it is that booth arrangements sometimes can lead also, if I may add this, to very high cost at the bottom end. And we don't know if they're going to make a booth arrangement, that is the actual Amila Falls or whatever is the project, that durable, because you can have the Chinese or any other American, British, making something by a booth arrangement that lasts just the term where they get back the money. And then when the country now takes it over, the things start broke down. What do you do? So we got to go and get a whole set of what is called other experts, environmental experts, the engineering experts, to ensure that there is at least some durability of the thing so that when it is transferred onto the government, after the people would have made back the financing that they put in it, that indeed it is long lasting.
All right, quickly, sir. While you're talking about this, I don't know if you want to talk about the AFC, sorry. Is your party doing fan-outs? I mean, every day I pick up the paper, the government is doing fan-out. I see Norton every now and then gone somewhere doing fan-out. Can I say the same about your party, sir?
Well, to be quite frank, it is not as regular as the PNC with Aubrey Norton, or APNU with Aubrey Norton, and the PPP. We are a smaller party, and we try as best as possible to ask our regional and district officials to get down there. I know people like Basdeo are doing a wonderful job in Berbice, and as a regional councillor, he is there meeting a lot of people. I will be going up Saturday, supposed to meet up with some Berbicians again. I have been doing some work. And there are some other people in Essequibo and so on, I understand, talking to a couple of the people about their complaints about rice and not getting the fertilizer that the government has promised. But it is not as regular or that is frequent and as large meetings as I know that I have seen the Norton and the PPP doing. But that's how it will be the case.
In addition to that, leader, in addition to that, we have re-engaged since our last NC, and under the new dispensation of the new leadership, we've re-engaged all our regional management committees towards this end. So I'm happy that Adam has raised the question, and we're in the process of expanding on the amounts of outreaches that we have been doing in the recent past. And so the members of the public can expect to see more of AFC on the ground.
You have to understand, Adam, I want to tell you something. It is very important. Since the AFC has started, anywhere that we now go in, especially in East Indian areas, and we publicize the thing, the PPP is there with his boys trying to undermine that meeting. And they go to these people's homes and tell them what you want for talk to Ramjatan for. He come for fool you here. And so we have to play a kind of a guerrilla politics inside of the PPP strongholds, the areas which we feel that we have to target. At least I got to target. And so sometimes I can't tell you, Adam, all the things that I will be going up and where I will be going up. The minute you get them PPP fellas coming behind you, and some of them want to boo you and talk all kinds of wicked things and so on about you. And then they tell the people don't turn up. I mean, that is what I will tell you happened when we tried to talk to some of the Amerindians last evening. The PPP did not plan a dinner for them. And so that last night was supposed to be what is called, we could have met them. And we arranged to meet them. And as soon as we arranged to meet the people, Jagdeo and them arranged dinner for the people. Yeah, at 7 o'clock. And then they take the bus, gone with the people. And, you know, we just had a couple of people there at the meeting. So they know this is, Jagdeo is an extremely Machiavellian kind of politician. He knows how to, and I'm not using Machiavellian here. I'm talking about how he tries to beat you at it. You know, and with cleverly, as soon as you set up something, you get them by, hey, call up. And that is what in Guyana, third parties do not flourish because one side or the other will try to deal with you. And so it is important that in that context that you understand that even when we call up some of our supporters, arrange your bottom house Nabas, I come in to Maikoni. And as soon as the man start bringing in the chair, who meeting this? Ramjatana come. All right, and then you get some people start telling you by what gun in your head. And that is what has happened. So you got to survive in this hard, you know, very, very hazardous environment. And that is why you probably will not see us, and because some of our supporters too are scared. One set of them now, who are big rice farmers that used to support us, all of a sudden, allez payer les taxes. Allez payer les taxes. Boss, it isn't easy. A third party isn't simple or easy to run. And you go and ask people like Ralph Ramkaran and Timothy Jonas. At least we managed to have the attributes of a major political party, Congress, membership, a head office, staff, all kinds of things. It's not easy.
Davina, is your hand up, or that was from the previous question? Kaicho News. Any other questions? Members of the media?
Thanks very much.
Hi, sorry. Yes, I do have another question.
Go ahead, Davina.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes,
Davina.
So I just have a quick follow-up in regard to Mr. Adam Harris's question. Sir, can you just explain what are some of the challenges AFC has been facing in relation to doing or conducting these fan-outs, besides the moral ones that you just listed?
Well, a lot of it initially for the last 2 years had to do with the COVID. Of course, we were all scared of COVID and we didn't want to do it. But now that it has eased, we have started back our outreaches. We have gotten new leadership in the party now from our national conference. And so the outreaches in relation to that has been rescheduled. There are some areas that are pretty strong that we can go in, and we are doing that. But the general, where the PPP especially has been literally making things difficult for us, is the primary one. And of course, we have to be very cautious about a number of places that we go to also.
Well, look, you had a powerful influence among some sugar workers. I remember on many occasions the sugar workers would gravitate towards you when the PPP get angry. Do you still hold that influence amongst ranks of the sugar workers, sir?
I want to believe so. I want to be optimistic. They did indicate to me a couple of times, and a number of them have still indicated that when we made that decision about right-sizing sugar, that was a bad decision. I was at pains to explain to them that it is a sector that needed right-sizing. I think I am winning the argument once again. As I have said on sugar, it will create intergenerational impoverishment. The PPP will take you for granted because the fact that you're not going to get educated, you're not going to be trained, but just to use one cutlass, is the punt and cutlass mentality for another generation, when now the coalition has brought in so much money is via the petroleum sharing agreement, production agreement. And you must not allow yourselves to just want to be cane cutters. GAU will not be of benefit to you because GAU want the what you call the union Jews. GAU carried me to court in relation to that. And I managed to win the case there. So you have to understand that, as Chedi would have said, the dialectics of the situation is that yes, we waned, we decreased in our support when we made the right sizing decision. But right sizing is now the right decision. Sugar ain't got a future like it used to, as I have explained in my press release. And so a number of them, in view of the fact that all the promises of reopening this and reopening that, and it is proving to be a strain, not only on the sugar workers, but also on the economy, because over $11 billion have already gone and things didn't work in. The gearbox like it didn't set right. I don't understand what is happening at IFLOT. But it is again increasing, and a number of them have been asking, let me come and talk to them at the bottom houses. But you got to pay a price whenever you're in government and you're making the right decision for the country. As I have said, Adam, 2 of the greatest economic decisions that were ever made in this country since independence have been the right sizing of sugar in these bad times and that production petroleum agreement. We got a lot of money to spend now.
Any other questions? Members of the media? We'll be happy to take it.
Shara, this might be for you. you know, the social media platform is perhaps the largest forum that the political opposition has. They don't have ready access to the mainstream media, which in a sense getting smaller and smaller anyhow. How often is your platform open to the opposition?
Sharon?
The opposition as it's currently constituted.
Or any group in the political opposition?
Anybody who wish that I think that is one of the underlying mantra of what we do is to amplify the voices of the opposition. Anybody who wish to come on and to make their opinions louder, that is what we are here for, and to make known what the opposition is doing, and also to, as Kemraj would put it, to hold the government in check.
Do you reach out? Do you reach out to the opposition? Do you invite them on specific occasions? Look, come, let's talk about this.
Yep, all the time, Adam, all the time. We invite people to come on, and as we examine the various national issues, we invite members of the opposition to come on and to for us to ventilate those issues. I think it's just last week, if not the week prior. We were privileged to have the leader of the opposition on talking about the appointment of the police service commission and the way it was done. And we have parliamentarians at various times. It's a forum geared for that specifically, to amplify the voices of the opposition because of the chief reason you have stated. We are locked out of having any airtime on NCN and all those other places. And we find that, as you also stated, with the diminishing returns of traditional media, I think our voices are even louder than the government's voice on social media.
Well, I hope you can talk about this smuggling of sugar. I don't know where the sugar coming from. Perhaps Kemraj can explain where the sugar coming from, where they're smuggling, and how they're smuggling it and all of that, where they're buying it, I don't know.
No, well, I get the impression that he was saying that the sugar is being smuggled out of the country. That is why they got shorted.
Yeah, but where it coming from? Where it coming from? Where they getting it to smuggle?
That is why I'm saying that when you get a fella like Sace, man, may I know how you're going to believe about sugar smuggling. And I want to know if you reported to the police. That's an important thing. I hope that he reported it to the police, which estate or factory the sugar stolen from, and who were in charge. So we do not have a kind of a cover-up or an evasion or an avoidance of this kind of issue that has now developed. Because that is also another problem with the sugar industry. So much of the fertilizer is stolen and sold to rice farmers from Gaisuku. So much of the spare parts, of them tractor parts and all of that. All of those were the reasons why we right-sized, along with the cost of production and so on. So when they now want to go and do back what they call the estates and so on, it is stupidity. It's idiocy. All right. If there are no other questions, I want to say thank you very much, members of the press, for turning up and asking some very pertinent questions here this Friday afternoon. Thank you very much.
Look down through your window, no big city lights, just greenery.